Hey, what's up, guys? Coach Mac, playfastfootball.blogspot.com. Today we're going to talk a little bit about defending four receivers to a side. It was a question posed to me on a different one of our different videos about defending the spread with quarters concepts, and an offensive coordinator asked me how we would handle four receivers to a side, whether it be flooding it from a 3x1 set, motioning to it from a 3x2 set, or even possibly lining up in a quads 4x1 set. So what I'm going to talk about just briefly, all right, is our standard 3x1 coverage, how we would handle 4 out in that coverage, how we would handle 3x2 empty, and then if we wanted to stay with our base coverage, how we could handle in that coverage, how we would have to handle 4x1, and then the problems that 4x1 creates that makes you have to think about possibly adjusting some of the things you do. You know, the first thing that I would talk about in general is don't auto-check all the time to formations. You know, only resort to auto checks if you absolutely have to, because I think if the offense gets you in situations where you auto check into something, you know, I think that that they are winning that battle by getting you to line up a certain way just based on how they line up. You know, I would suggest that if you have a quad set that is different, 4x1, that gives your coverages a little bit of a problem, you know, I would suggest that if you did have anything auto checks, you had two choices, one where you tried to kill it and blitz it, and maybe one where you tried to, you know, cover it depending on how you wanted to adjust your coverages. But I think if you could at least attempt to get your kids to understand how to line up and play your base coverages to it, it may not, you know, you may not be able to make a living in a base coverage if it's 4x1. I think you can certainly do it to 3x1 and empty motioning to that fourth receiver. I think you can get by with it. All right, but if it's definitely 4x1 and that number 4 receiver is in a position where he can go vertical, it's going to put a lot of stress on your numbers in the box. And then depending on whether they are trying to go 4x1 for screen game or quarterback run game, or, you know, some type of 4 receiver flood spacing concepts, that's what you have to look at as a defense to see if your base concepts can handle that. You know, one of the things that I've been trying to get across to other coaches, and one thing that I've been trying to get across even to myself, is the fact that you have to have things that kids can understand and play if you want them to play fast and play well. You know, that's the whole methodology and the mission statement behind doing this website and you know, creating a format for coaches to kind of share some ideas and talk about some different concepts, is how to get kids to understand what you're playing and to get them to play it fast. So if all of a sudden a team is 4x1 and you have to automatically check into some type of adjustment, not only is I think the offense getting an advantage in that check, but I think then your kids are playing something that they're not comfortable with. All right, so we'll start with 3x1, then we'll go to empty and talk about if they motioned and how we would defend some of those things, and then we'll talk about the 4x1 set. So what I've got drawn up here is our standard 3x1 check, what our kids would play if I didn't send in any other checks in 3x1. It's what we call mixed coverage, okay? It's still a split field concept. We're going to play a version of the coverage on one side and a version of the coverage on the other side, okay? For me, versus 3x1 sets, I always want to lean heavily on bracketing or playing some type of cover 2 concept with a D-gap run defender to the single receiver side. I do not like, in high school football and at the high school that I'm coaching at, I do not like man-to-man on a single, and I do not like weaker single side run support. Okay, I want to shore up my single side receiver coverage, and I want to shore up my weak side single side receiver runs. All right, and then I'll have some other adjustments to handle what a team's doing to the trips. Okay, so in the first theory we're going to talk about mix. It's what we call an X-out theory, and what I mean by that is we're going to take one of the trips receivers and we're going to play man-to-man on him. All right, and right now it's going to be my corner playing man on the number 1 to the trip side. Why do I like that? Because I think if you study enough football, the number 1 receiver to the trip side, to the field, the widest guy out there, all right, I don't think he gets the football a lot unless they are a big screen team, a tunnel screen or a rocket screen team. All right, I don't think he gets the ball enough down the field for me to warrant playing a different type of coverage. So I like Xing out the number 1 receiver to the trips. I think in most high school packages, that's the guy on the single side that's going to do a lot more damage, along with these 2 guys and then the back or the quarterback coming back and hurting you over here. Okay, so I always like to shore up the single side first. So this X-out theory allows me to do that because once I play the corner on man and I go ahead and X that player out, I'm really left with a 2x1 set that my kids know how to handle. So by playing man on that single receiver, I'm able to X him out and make it a 2 receiver set. So now what I can do is I can play my normal coverage rules to a 2 receiver set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my down safety and my free safety, and I'm going to play palms or 2 read or blue coverage all right, to the remaining 2 receivers in the set that I'm not playing man-to-man. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm playing my standard coverage that I would play to a number 2 removed or a twin set. I'm just doing it with a free safety and a down safety. Now, I think I'm able to do that because of the 4-2-5 structure. So if you're a 4-2-5 or a 3-3-5 team with an extra DB, I think you can play palms and have a safety, all right, that can play palms rules just like a corner. Because remember now, these 2 guys are going to be acting just like the corner and the free safety do in palms. It just happens to be a down safety doing it. And instead of doing it on 1 and 2, you're going to do it on 2 and 3 because you're playing man on number 1. Okay? So we're going to play palms coverage here, and then my Mike linebacker is going to assume the palms coverage rules, all right, to the number 2 removed, very similar to what the Will has to do in 2x2 sets. And we've talked about that in some of our other videos when you get 2x2 and you have to apex and the Will gets conflicted. He's got to apex and hip out, and he's got to play in palms coverage. Well, now the Mike's going to do it, so we're going to hip him out. Okay, and what we're going to end up doing is he's going to play palms coverage, and what has to happen now is the Mike has to understand that he cannot let the number 3 receiver cross his face, and he cannot let the number 4 receiver, if they were to flood it out strong, he cannot let the number 4 receiver out-leverage him with width to the sideline. All right, so Mike's simple rules are 3 doesn't across my face, 4 doesn't out-leverage me. Okay, now most of the time that we're doing this, we will come up with some type of 1 or 2 man games in here to take away the A-gap so that if we do get inside or weak side runs, the Mike falling into the A-gap or folding into the A-gap is a long way to go. So we will either run a 1-man game with the nose to cancel the A-gap so that the Mike's fall-in gap is the B-gap, or we will run a 2-man game with the nose in the end. My nose is a 3 technique for me. I know most people, maybe the tackle is the 3 technique, but in my defense, my terminology of how I call things, the nose for me is my 3. So we're either running a 3 technique stunt or a 3 and a 5 game where they're both under, or maybe we twist them. But what we're trying to do is if we think that the Mike can't fall into the A-gap on runs away, we'll try and cancel the A-gap with 1 or possibly 2 players canceling the A and the B gap. All right. The only thing I would give you a heads up or a recommendation, if they run a lot of speed option or sprint out to the edge of the trips and you're making that edge short with 2-man games, I would highly suggest just running a 1-man game and leaving the end there and letting the Mike be a B-gap fall-in player on runs away. Okay? And then on the backside, we're going to play cover 2 to the single. So we're going to play a hard D-gap run support player with a flat player. All right? And then we're going to play somebody over the top. So we've got number 1 kind of bracketed, high-low. We've got a guy under him and a guy on top. And then the Will linebacker is going to drop hook to curl as long as the 4 or, this guy really is 4/2. All right? All right, so the Will linebacker in terms of if he's too weak, it depends on how you talk to your kids and the terminology you use. If you want to say that, hey, if number 2 goes weak, all right, then we've got to drop hook to curl to the weak side. If number 2 goes strong, he becomes number 4. So for argument's sake today, very simple, from that side over, we'll just call him number 4. So if number 4 releases to the weak side, all right, the Will linebacker can just drop hook to curl. But if 4 wants to flood it out and go strong, all right, the Will linebacker dropping hook to curl is going to lose a number to the strong side, and he has nobody to relate to. So we have 2 players for the 1 receiver. So if 4 flood strong, we're going to have to push the drop of the Will linebacker strong. Okay? So if you were getting any concepts, and this was the original question, how do you handle when they get 4 out strong? If you're getting any concepts where they're trying to push 4 out strong, all right, we're going to play mixed coverage. We're going to play man-to-man on the single. We're going to play palms on the remaining 2 and 3. The Mike linebacker is going to play palms coverage. Don't let 3 cross your face. Don't let 4 out-leverage you. And then we're going to push the Will linebacker, all right, strong. If 4 goes strong, we're going to push the Will strong, all right? And now the Will have to relate to the new number 4, so that if you got any type of exchange where maybe it was the 2 or the 3, it could be either one of these guys trying to come in and run under on some type of snag spot route. The Will has to adjust because this will become the new number 4 once the initial 4 gets wide enough to be the number 3 or the number 2 when the routes finally disperse. Remember when you're playing pattern read or pattern match concepts that it's how the routes disperse. You number them originally, but then when you start to relate, you have to relate to where those routes disperse to. Okay? So you have to relate to who becomes the new number 4, the new number 3. So originally the Mike relates to 3 and 4. At the point that 3 comes inside and 4 comes outside, they now switch, so the Willie plays the new 4 and the Mike has to expand with the new 3. Okay? He has to expand with the new number 3. So that's how in a base theory we would handle, all right, too many combinations to draw up, too many things to draw up. But just in theory, if they were to get 4 out strong, all right, and they were to push 4 strong, that's how we would handle it, by pushing the will strong and understanding what the Mike's responsibilities are, all right, when he's dealing with, all right, a number 3 and a number 4 receiver, and understanding that he's trying his best not to let 3 cross his face while also not letting 4 out leverage him. All right. So while we're speaking of that also, if 4 pushes strong, you need to communicate to your down flat player to lean heavily on all the routes underneath of number 1, because your will is going to push strong. So if your corner playing in the flat just sits in the flat, lets the will push strong, and he lets this guy run any type of choice slant inside route, okay, with 4 going strong, he can sit real hard on all the inside routes of number 1 because he has no other immediate threat to the flat. The only other player that can threaten your flat guy has to come from the trip side coming back across. All right, so where 4 is and where he goes is very important to not only the Mike and the will, but your backside flat player, so he can understand how heavy he can sit on number 1. Okay, same thing occurs for the Mike linebacker. If for argument's sake, all right, if this number 4 wanted to release weak, well, then I better tell my Mike linebacker, you better sit heavy and hard inside of this number 3, okay? Because they can't hurt you and out-leverage you with number 4 because 4 went away. So now the will linebacker would drop, all right? He would drop weak side hook to curl, all right? So now he can help if they want to run any exchange routes and you get that route and that route. Now the corner can pass that off to the will, who can expand, and now the corner can pick up that route coming back, okay? So, and it's 3 by 1, depending on the coverages you're running or when you're pattern reading or pattern matching. You have to understand what that number 4 does. Does he flood strong or does he come weak? Okay? So there's just a simple explanation in our base coverage how we would handle 4 strong. Okay? The next question was empty. Okay? And again, the big thing with empty is how do you handle 3 vertical on the front side? Well, for me, if my backside safety is not going to be, all right, a guy that has to come across the field to trap or stress the number 3 receiver vertical, that means I can leave my backside safety here on this backside to play whatever coverage I want to play to the 2 receivers. Okay? Now, when you choose your coverage to the backside of empty, all right, I think what you got to think about is number 1, are they empty to go quarterback runs? If they're empty to go quarterback runs, you're going to want to leave your will in the box, okay? And now you may want to go out here and play man-to-man or a lock coverage out here, so you can leave your will in the box to stop quarterback runs. All right, that's a game plan thing. If they're empty and their quarterback's not going to carry the ball and they're just trying to run all throw game on you, okay, well now you can take your will and hip them out, okay, and you can run palms, okay, you can run palms to the 2 receiver side now, all right, with your normal standard rules, with your corner and your safety reading off of 2. Your will linebacker is the same as the Mike now. 2 doesn't cross my face, 3 doesn't out-leverage me. Well, it's an empty set with no back. So if I'm the will, I can't get a number 3 out-leveraging me right now. So I know that I can hang hard and heavy on the inside routes of this 2, or if the 2 goes vertical, I can cut the inside routes of this number 1 because I can never be out-leveraged. Same thing goes for the Mike when it's an empty set. Okay, so when it's an empty set, the Mike linebacker now knows that he can hang inside hard and heavy on 3 because he doesn't have a 4 coming out of the backfield that can out-leverage him. All right, if the ball were into the boundary, all right, and you were comfortable doing it, you could play cover 2 to the backside and leave the will in the box. All right, again, if the ball was into the boundary, you could just sit back here and play cover 2. All right, if this was the short field boundary side, you could sit back here and just play cover 2 into the boundary because the will doesn't have to expand into the boundary because his drop is automatically right where he is. His hook to curl drop doesn't have to go anywhere when the ball's sitting on that hash mark. So on the back side of that, you got 3 choices depending on what the opponent's trying to do. You can lock it down and play man and leave the will in the box. You can hit the will and play palms or 2 read coverage, or you can leave the will in the box and go straight cover 2. I don't recommend that in the middle of the field, but into the boundary, I'm fine with that. Okay? All right, and then the next question was when they start to motion now from empty, okay, when they trigger the motion across now from empty, how you handle that if that becomes 4 strong. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to realize that 2 going inside in motion is going to leave us with a single receiver side, so my corner and my safety are going to play single receiver side rules, and whatever our game plan was that week. So if we were in a single receiver side and our rule was to play, let's say, sky coverage that week, all right, and we wanted to have the safety down, all right, and the cornerback. So for argument's sake, let's say we started in palms to empty, and we had the willy hipped out here, all right, we had the right safety and the right corner playing palms. When this kid triggers motion inside, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to roll down, and we're going to make a sky call, and we're going to take the cornerback off the half, and we're going to put the will back into the box where he belongs. The will is only hipped out because of the number 2. When the number 2 comes in motion into the backfield, the set becomes 3 by 1, so you just roll into your 3 by 1 coverage. Okay? Now, if the ball is snapped on this side of the field and it hasn't changed, all right now it hasn't changed the strength of the formation yet, we're going to play all of our base 3 by 1 concepts, and now when they come with their read game, we just have to understand how we want to handle if they're running jet sweep read and they're going to leave the end unblocked. First thing we got to know, are we in base defense? All right, if we're in base defense and this end gets a down block, we're going to squeeze him, all right, and try and take away the quarterback runs and let the Mike linebacker run to the jet sweep. Okay? If we're stunting and these two guys are going under, they're going to become the quarterback players, and the Mike is going to naturally run to the C gap to take care of the jet sweep. All right, so more often than not on this side, we're going to have a collapse inside. We're going to have a chase replace or a scrape replace theory where we're going to go down inside hard and we're going to let the Mike run over the top to the jet sweep. Okay? All right? And now if the motion happens to get all the way across to make it quads and this kid gets into this position, well, now the Mike linebacker has to understand that's my 4 immediately. 3 doesn't cross my face, 4 doesn't out-leverage me. So now I've got to be in a position to play 4 if they try and go motion, bubble, or motion right to the flat. The Mike's got to expand hard with that. The will linebacker has to now understand, all right, that 4 is all the way over here strong, so I had better push my drop, okay, over here, all right, strong to find a new number 4. And then this sky player had better understand with the number 2 gone, I had better sit heavy inside all the routes that number 1 wants to run because there's no threat of 2 on a wheel or 2 to the flat. The only other threat coming back to me is going to come from this side. Okay? So if you were to get, again, if you were to get empty, all right, if you were to get empty, you can start however you want. All right, we're going to play mix to the 3 receiver side, which means my backside safety can play however he wants. He can play palms, lock, cover 2. All right, so again, if we were in palms, we're sitting here. The inside motion takes away the empty formation, gets us right back into a single 3 by 1. So let's go ahead and have our kids do what they do in 3 by 1. All right, so go back in the box where you belong, go down for sky, walk off to play the deep half here, and get back into a 3 by 1 defense. All right, so I really wouldn't handle 3 by 2 empty with motion from that kid. All right, I wouldn't handle it any different schematically. What I've got to get my kids to understand is when they motion him, what are they running? All right, if it's going to be power read with jet sweep, is it going to be midline read with jet sweep? Is it going to be quarterback dart or quarterback counter? So we have to understand the runs that they're trying to get to, but the structure of my defense in 3 by 2 when I'm playing mixed coverage doesn't have to change. Okay? All right? So when it motions inside, it just becomes 3 by 1, so get your kids to play your 3 by 1 defense. Okay? To me, all right, the bigger problem, all right, to me is when teams line up in 4 by 1. Okay? When teams can line up in 4 by 1, that to me creates a little bit of a bigger issue for 2 reasons. Okay? In theory, right now in this coverage, okay, in theory, we're going to play man-to-man on number 1 with the left corner. Okay, so that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4. All right, so we're man on the corner, and we're going to play palms on the 2 and 3. The Mike linebacker, by rule, has to be inside of 3 but outside of 4. Okay, inside of 3 but outside of 4. All right, now here's the problem. 4 is in a position to go vertical immediately. If I play the Mike linebacker in this coverage inside of 4, I'm going to get out leverage to the bubble or the wheel. So the Mike has to be outside of 4. Now that the Mike is outside of 4, he can't play 4 vertical. He is technically the swing deep of 4 player in that coverage. He can't swing deep to 4 running down the hash mark from there. It's not a good matchup. It's not a good position. So now what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to use a backside safety, okay, to play the long wall of 4. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to play mixed coverage, all right, combined with stress coverage. All right, some people call this trap. Okay. We're going to combine these two now, and we're going to play mix to the trips, and we're going to play stress rules with the backside safety handling the long wall of 4 vertical. Okay. All right, now, the issue with that's going to be That's going to leave me man-to-man to the single, okay? And it's going to leave me with an empty box look because the will linebacker, I'm going to have 5 in the box, and the will linebacker is going to have to push his drop in the throw game to the new number 4, okay? So, in theory, in that coverage, that is how we would line up, all right? And if we had to play mixed, the only adjustment we'd have to make is widening the mic between 3 and 4. But when you teach the mic, he always lines up inside of 3, outside of 4 anyways, okay? But now he's way out here. He can't run with 4 vertical, so our backside safety needs to check it so that we can play, makes a stress call to let the mic linebacker know that he's going to take 4 vertical. Some people call it trap, triangle stress. It's got 9 different names, but the bottom line is your backside safety's handling the inside most vertical 3x1 or 4x1, okay? Now, if they are a quarterback run team and you line up in that defense, you're going to get killed. If their stud is at the single and you line up in that defense, you're going to get killed. Okay? So my point being, if we were to play mixed coverage, we could line up and defend this formation, and my kids could defend it with rules, okay? And they could defend it playing very simple and playing fast. So it wouldn't cause panic for us. Okay? It's not a major adjustment for us to make. The problem is, can I live playing that coverage? Okay, and my answer to you is probably not. All right? If I'm going to see that 2 or 3 times a game as a gadget or a wrinkle, if I can line up to it and defend what they do, they won't come back to it. But if they're a 4x1 team that has a bunch of plays in their arsenal, and they have a lot of quarterback run game or stuff like that, now I can't make a living lining up like that with my mic way out here, just my will in the box, 5 versus 5 in the box, man-to-man on a single. I can't make a living that way. So I have to determine as a defensive coordinator, okay, what are they trying to do to the quads? Are they attacking the quads? Are they attacking the single? Or are they attacking the empty box? And that comes down to game planning. Maybe you have an auto check. You know, if it were me, like I said, I would have 2 auto checks. If I had to auto check to something where maybe I said, you know what, I've got to leave the mic and the will in the box. Okay? I got to leave the mic and the will at least a little bit tighter to the box because they come with heavy quarterback runs. Okay, so the best I can do is maybe I can put a left corner down trying to impede the number 1. Maybe I can take my left safety and put him in a hook to curl spot. All right, and then maybe I could take my free safety and my backside safety, and now he could split 3 and 4. He could split 1 and 2. My corner better do a real good job, all right, redirecting, all right, and jamming 1. My safety better do a good job betting physical with 3. My mic linebacker better be able to long wall 4. But at least now I've got 6 in the box, but I still have a scenario where I'm man-to-man back here, okay? So, you know, I might have one scenario where I have some type of zone system checked where we're playing some type of deep quarters concept with a hard flat player for bubble screens and reroute and an inside hook to curl player for maybe immediate quarterback runs, or to give me more presence in the hook to curl window in the spacing game. But I got 6 in the box to defend those quarterback runs. You know, the only other thing I would do is I would take my skills on their skills, all right, and then I would just send, all right, I would send my mic and my will, however you wanted to do it. I would go ahead and say, okay, you know, look, if you're going to do that, all right, I'm going to have a method where I kill it, and I'm going to have a method where I cover it, okay? So I still think at the end of the day that a quads 4x1 set has to be something that you may have to make some slight adjustments to. I'm not going to auto-check to one thing and let the offense rip me apart all day. So if I do auto-check, I'll probably have a blitz auto-check, and I'll probably have a coverage auto-check. And then when that set comes out, if my kid, you know, my kids might look to the sideline, and I'll either make some type of signal to kill it or cover it. And they know that if we're covering it, there's only one way we cover it. If we're killing it, there's one way we kill it. Okay? But as far as 3x1, flooding out 4 strong, I would play that with my normal trips defense. And as far as 3x2 empty, motioning to 4 strong, as long as 4 is not sitting in a position where he can go vertical immediately, I would play that in my normal 3x1 defense. Now when you go back and look at your 3x1 defense, if your 3x1 defense doesn't handle 4 strong, or it doesn't handle 3x2 empty, then you need to come up with some other 3x1 defense. Okay, because when the bullets start flying, if you see an empty set, you don't want your kids to panic. All right, so the reason that we like the 4-2-5 or the 5 DB structure and coverage with split field is, if my kids see empty with 3 on one side and 2 on the other, this side play trips because that's the picture you're looking at. This side play twins with 2 removed because that's the picture you're looking at. All right, so at the end of the day, my kids can line up and play it fast. Now, I'm not saying that means we can cover everything they do. A team can still come out empty and drive us nuts. A team can come out empty and beat us 50-0. But my kids aren't going to panic, and I'm not going to feel like at the end of the night, man, that empty set really gave me fits because my kids didn't know what to do. We'll know what to do. All right, and then it's just a matter of executing and seeing if that football team is better or not than we are. And then you just have to make some slight wrinkles. Do I want to get more guys in the box to empty and play man on the backside? All right, if they're throwing a ball, do I want to come up and play a hard cover 2 look to take away the quick game? Do I want to apex my will out and play palms or read on the backside? And that's what makes this game so fun, because it becomes game planning and it becomes adjustments. All right, so in my base coverage, I can play 3x2. I can play it 2 or 3 different ways to the trip side, and I can play it 2 different ways or 2 or 3 different ways to the twin side based on where the ball is. Okay, so that's just one version of 3x1 coverage that we call mix. We really like the coverage a lot. The coverage is not great to trip side runs, and it's not great to real good spacing teams. All right, so you have to have some other answers in there. We have some other 3x1 answers. But what I really like about 3x1 mix coverage, I'm good to the single side in the passing game. I'm good to the single side in the run game. And if 4 goes ahead and floods himself out strong, I have real easy adjustments with my Mike and Will linebacker to handle 4 flooding him out strong. Okay? So I hope any of that, I hope some of that stuff helps you. If that's not the way you play trips, maybe if you are a 5 DB team, maybe you'll consider playing trips that way. If you're not a 5 DB team, maybe you'll consider playing 5 DBs. I think it's great for coverage purposes. All right? And again, like everything else we're doing, we're just trying to convey ways for you to coach fast, get your players to play fast, get them to line up without panicking, and be able to play the set that they see in front of them. All right? At the end of the day, you still got to execute. It comes down to blocking and tackling. All right, you can talk about all the schemes you want. I've already said it on other videos. We were 4 and 6 this year and did not make the playoffs. I can talk about everything I want on a whiteboard schematically, but at the end of the day, we still got to execute. You've got to tackle, you've got to block wreck, you've got to block destruct. Okay, so a friend of mine was at a clinic one time, and he got the privilege of hearing Bo Schembechler speak, and then Bo Schembechler was in the room when another defensive coach was talking, and the coach was going over all these exotic blitzes, and Bo Schembechler raised his hand and asked the guy, "Where did you finish this year in defense?" And he said, "Well, we were 86 against the run and whatever against the pass." And Bo Schembechler said, "Well, maybe you should concentrate more on fundamentals and less on these exotic blitzes." And that point is already stuck in my mind, because again, we can draw all these things up, and I love talking schematics and I love talking X's and O's, but at the end of the day, we got to get our kids, all right, to execute what we're trying to do. We got to get them to run fit. We got to get them to pattern read and pattern match. All right, so at the end of the day, remember, it still comes down to fundamentals, all right? But I think you have to have schematics that can handle things. Otherwise, the offense is going to have easy pickings getting you in formations and just saying, look, they can't cover this, they can't cover that. All right, so again, it's about having answers, letting your kids play fast. Hope these videos help, and I'll check you guys out next time.